Alrighty guys, today I'm by the pool. I'm out here in California. Such a beautiful experience out here. Just blessed to be around the sun. Today I want to talk about something that's I get asked once in a while about, and I have a lot of older gentlemen who seem like they're curious to get into martial arts, but for whatever reason they haven't really made the commitment. Is how old is too old to be training MMA? Asked a lot. Should older people train mixed martial arts? And to be honest, for me, I think it's not about age. It's more about mileage and what your goals are. You see, with your goals in mixed martial arts, you know, if you're just stepping into the cage at 40, it might not be the best idea. You know, just like a woman might have a body count of 100 plus guys by the time she's 20, you know, a man, just because he's young doesn't mean that he's healthy. A man might have a lot of prior injuries, or they might have some kind of sickness, or they have just a bad lifestyle, smoking, drugs. So it's really hard to really gauge what somebody's level of fitness is, because you know, it's also about how much they sleep. So it's really hard to determine if an older person should or shouldn't do mixed martial arts or martial arts in general, just based off of age. There's some men who are 35, 55 and are able to compete like a young bull. And so for those type of people, it kind of makes sense to continue competing if they're able to dominate the younger people in the gym. You know, people like Yoel Romero, Paul Reed, and Vince Pinchel. Those are just, you know, some small examples of people who, even though they're up there in age, they have a lifetime of experience. They're able to train multiple times a day, and they're able to compete with the young bucks. My inspirations for doing this video was, I just saw a video posted by Kajan Johnson, and
a prize fighter, as prize fighters are meant to be. If you're
seems like he's stepping into the boxing arena at age 41. He's taken, I think, his second boxing fight, and he wants to take on everybody. Now, I'm a little bit doubtful, but if he's able to destroy people in MMA in his local gym and to really compete, then maybe there's a reason why he's so confident. So I can't completely dismiss that, because like I said, there's some people who have a lifetime of experience and they can compete with us young bucks and actually dominate us. So, you know, it's really hard to say. One thing you got to ask is, what are you bringing to the table? Are you a former CrossFitter, a boxer, a wrestler who just never made it into a mixed martial arts gym? Because if you're just coming straight off the couch, that might be an issue. It might be a formula for injury because of how much stress you're going to feel and how much stress your joints are going to take. A lot of knee and shoulder injuries in MMA. If you have a job and you got injured and you're not able to make it to the job the next day, that might be detrimental to you. And so you have to consider these things ahead of time, because if you don't, you're just gonna be set back. You know, I've had this past year a shoulder injury. I got slammed with the Greco-Roman style slam, and I was out for about 8 to 12 weeks. Basically all my nerves in my shoulder, just couldn't feel them anymore. I couldn't even raise my shoulder up. And then I came back into the martial arts gym with doing jiu-jitsu, and I went with another wrestler and I got thrown again. And this time I broke, or I don't know, dislocated a floating rib. And it took me about 5 to 6 weeks to fully recover. And so that happened, 8 weeks of training, then another, 5-6 weeks of recovery time. And so those are the type of things that you have to take into account before training. Is if you have a really physical demanding job and you can't move around much, that might not be the smartest idea. It's just, were you active before you considered doing martial arts? Did you do bodybuilding? Did you play tennis? Did you go to the gym multiple times a week? Those are the things you have to kind of consider. That way your chance of injury will be much lower if you were active before than if you're coming straight off the couch. Thing you got to consider is what kind of gym are you going to be attending. A lot of the gyms that I've been at, they use people as cannon fodder, as fresh meat, and you got to consider that when you're training. Is this type of gym, is it more for fighters, or is it more for older people or newer beginners to be able to learn? Because if it's more of a gym that is focused around up and coming fighters and getting people to become pro very quick, you're probably just going to be cannon fodder, to be honest. You're just going to get run through at the gym. People, your training partners, depending on who they are, how competitive they are, they're probably just going to beat you up, use you as a punching bag, spit you out. And so that's one thing you got to consider too, is who are you sparring with and what kind of gym are you going to? How friendly are they? And you got to do that in the beginning with the coaches to, just be honest with what your goals are. If you're trying to become a world champ and you're at 40, it's probably not going to happen unless you've already been training a certain martial art or you're a freak athlete. Older people can train. However, it's about being realistic. If you're looking to just hang with the young guys and to be able to go blow for blow in the sparring, you might not last too long. It's all about protecting your body, knowing your goals, and playing the long game. If you feel the sparring rounds are off, don't do it. Don't go with that guy who's running through everybody. Don't do it. So my final thoughts is, you got to be realistic with your goals and you got to know your limits. Anyway, if you guys like this sort of content, please like, subscribe, share this video. See if we can get more people up with MMA Critic. And until next time, guys, stay safe.
Pulling up, getting this Benz. I like my women just like my money, I make them extend. Tokyo stacking my yen, smoke a little perk, get out of my head. A year ago I couldn't get out of my bed. Yeah, I've been putting off my dad. Damn right, yeah, I said what I said. Playboy, I'm seeing all red. Get a bat to the head like Glenn. I would never stress no way. Gonna always